And now it's time to turn our attention to Afternoon Drive Radio. You just saw Howard Simon and Jeremy White, and now we're going to talk to Chris the Bulldog Parker and Mike Schopp. I've worked with Mike Schopp in the past. It was great to see them once again. I asked them, since there is no other sports talk station in town, who is their competition and how do they rate their performance?
I mean, the ratings obviously are important, but I've always kind of felt like that's more something that the people above us concentrate on. I mean, we care about them and we are judged on them, so they matter. But I don't know, I think as far as competing, I think we strive to do the most entertaining show we can do, whether that is entirely sports-centric every day or whether it's kind of off-the-board topics that are more lifestyles or pop culture. So, you know, I think we're competing with everybody else that's on the radio.
That's exactly how I look at it. I think at a certain point, maybe it's gradual, you do something for so long and it starts to just become subconscious or not something you really, I mean, once in a while I think, okay, we've got to change this right now. We've got to do something different right now to kick this up. But it just sort of takes care of itself. I don't want to sound too casual about it either, because it's important to be focused and to know what you're doing. But I think I and we both, we benefit from that. We have, what, 25 to 30 years at this combined now?
Well, you both have done shows solo, and you now do, of course, a show, and you've been, since you've come over here, Mike, you've done a show with a partner. What's the difference? Chris used to be on BEN at night. You kind of, you know, you own the nighttime, and now you're in the afternoon. What's the difference in doing it by yourself?
Well, physically and mentally, I get tired when I have to do it by myself. When he's not, when he's not here, literally my voice gets fatigued from talking for, you know, however many segments that is, 12 straight segments. By about 6:30 on a day that I'm by myself, I feel it, which is strange considering, you know, the BEN show used to be a 5-hour gig, 6 to 11, and, you know, I had no problem handling that, but, you know, I'm getting old. So that, you know, that's different. And then, you know, being on your own, there's a different kind of freedom that is there to just, you know, do whatever pops into your head. And, you know, that can be good and bad, because I still sort of can get myself into a stream of consciousness, sort of just riffing on anything, and that's not always the best thing to keep a large audience, you know. So, you know, I think it can be good and bad.
Yeah, sometimes though that's really, really a high when you are alone, and
you nail it.
To be able, yes, to be able to go at your pace. That's the only thing about having a partner that, to me, isn't better, is that sometimes you know he's waiting to talk, and I like to have control. So I better say what I've got to say right now because my time is up.
Well, you both come from completely different you know, perspective from where you got into the business. I mean, Mike, you started out in the newspaper business, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And Chris, you were, is it true you were working at a pizzeria before you got into radio?
Absolutely true, yeah. Yeah, my background is in restaurants and you know, bars. Really, that's it.
I think of mine as being in journalism, and this is very little about journalism. I mean, as a station, there's journalism, but as a host, there's less. I mean, it's not so much, I don't really report on anything too much. Once in a while, someone I know will tell me something that I can, you know, represent as news. But usually, that's someone else on our team doing that.
Well, it seems though the journalism is coming much closer to what you do than it used to, because you know, whether it's Twitter now or social media has turned every reporter into some form of either columnist or talk show host. Everybody has an opinion, which is kind of encroaching on what you do.
I think radio has done that. And social media is sort of following radio's lead. I mean, TV now is opinion shows, and the newspaper guys are doing stand-ups.
Yeah, the TV shows now, like a lot of the ESPN shows, I think look and sound a lot like what I think 15 years ago, if you were going to try to portray what we do in a movie or in a TV show, the cliche would have been, okay, you take that position, you take that position, let's start yelling at each other and we'll take phone calls and it'll be great. And that's kind of like how I think people view talk radio. I think some people still do. We haven't done that really ever. That's not how we do it. But that's how ESPN is doing those first take shows and all those kinds of things. It's all And I don't know, to me, it just seems pretty contrived that they're just arguing points of view that, who believes what exactly?
Well, there's no doubt that there's talk radio, even in this town, where there is a contrivance. There's obviously an attempt to get a reaction from callers, but I don't really pick that up in your show. I think you guys pretty much, you are who you are.
I learned pretty early on, this was something I think I would say I learned working by myself. You got to believe what you're saying, otherwise you're going to look like a fool eventually, because the truth is going to come out. Like, if you take a point of view just to take a point of view, just to stir up a show because it's 9 o'clock on a Wednesday night and the Sabres are playing and you're bored and you need people to call you, the next night or 2 nights later, your real opinion is going to come through and you're going to look like an idiot. So I've always really strived to believe what I'm saying and mean it. Otherwise, I think you end up falling through a trap door.
I think that's right, but you do want feedback. You do want calls. It's more fun. It's more interesting. And I don't think you ever change what you want to say or how you feel, but you do change, or I would change how to say it. If you sense that it's gotten boring, then you might want to say what you were going to say, but you've just got to say it louder or just differently in such a way, that almost pick a fight just to sort of I'll do that just to get myself going. And that usually corresponds to, more feedback from listeners.
Where did Bulldog come from?
They, when I started on BEN, they gave me, I don't know, a couple of weeks maybe. And this is I think, couldn't be more lame, to come up with my own nickname. Which, I mean, who can do that? Like, you talk about contrived. Like, I'm going to come up with my own nickname. That's not how this works. So I left it up to them, and they came up with this, and it's been awfully good to me. I've wondered if eventually over the years, like, the real name would sort of start to work itself in there more, and I think it has. But the name's been very good to me. So.
We asked once.
Yeah.
I asked once, can he use his name because he wants to, and they said no.
Yeah.
Right, because people know you already.
Right.
And
the brand.
And Bulldog is ironic because he's huge. I think of Bulldog as sort of like a stocky.
Yeah, I get that a lot. I expect you to be some short, fat guy.
If I could only listen to one show on GR, should I listen in the mornings or should I listen in the afternoon?
Oh, our show is better.
For sure.
It depends,
We've got the Panther.
We're funnier than they are, more creative.
Got more hair.
Yeah, more hirsute.